Drama at the garden party as King Charles and Queen Camilla's guest is tricked by a phony photo of Lily that has gone viral and taken center stage. Additionally, I'm not sure who is giving them PR advice, but given how awful the optics are, I would definitely look for someone else. Ultimately, to force one's own private agenda and personal agenda, music. I must admit that I always considered the man to be an imbecile and an adult musician. I don't mean to be cruel, but almost every time the episode ended, I thought, what an idiot. I felt that it went beyond being unhelpful to being cruel. It was very, truly cruel and unpleasant, in my opinion. During the most significant royal visit in years, a phony AI photo of Meghan's daughter went viral. Despite being informed that it was fraudulent, a seasoned journalist continued to disseminate it. Why did everyone believe it? Is the question that no one is posing. This is the solution. Genuine pictures of Diana's face were essentially non-existent until very recently. Diana is years music old. Consider music in relation to it. The great-granddaughter of the most photographed woman in history and the granddaughter of a reigning monarch. Additionally, there was very little real content on the internet throughout her early years. The Newsmax host shared this viral tweet from Nico, which stated, Meghan Markle has shared on social media the first public photo of her 4-year-old daughter, Lily, at the exact moment she was meeting the King and Queen. Despite the fact that the community pointed out that the photo seemed to be artificial intelligence, AI, generated, similar to other images that Meghan Markle had not shared. The post has not yet been removed by Greta Van Susteren. People's brains quickly filled in the void when an AI avatar with red hair and a wide smile showed next to a woman who appeared to be Meghan. They did, of course. People will accept a fake without even verifying if they are starved of anything for an extended period of time. To be honest, I believe that the Sussexes are to blame for Greta Van Susteren's infatuation with the AI pictures of the kids that are readily available online. It's still up for dispute whether she fell for it on purpose. These images can be found all over the internet. However, I usually emphasize that you don't require AI to determine the appearance of these children. Correct? Greta Van Susteren is not a moron. She is a music, not irresponsible. She is a seasoned journalist with decades of experience covering courtrooms, wars, and presidents. However, because Harry and Meghan had taught the world to have nothing actual to compare it to, when she saw that image, her brain replied, yes. And it's not an accident. That's a tactic. Let's be honest, at this point, we are all simply waiting for the highest bidder to pay Meghan for the child's photo, aren't we? Yes. However, prior to this visit, Prince Harry issued what you call a stunning challenge to King Charles's authority, according to a very potent new post on the Royalist. Tom, you've gone even farther. You mentioned that Harry is currently working to undo Meghan. It has always been referred to as privacy by Harry and Meghan. Harry has been particularly enthusiastic about it. Diana's death was partially caused by the media. As a number-year-old boy, he stood outside a hospital and witnessed it. You fully comprehend the instinct. The Queen used to gripe that Diana was raising the kids in a way that was too commonplace, and that she wasn't providing them with structure. Some would have said that Diana was rigid, and that was undoubtedly her opinion that both the aristocratic and royal ways were too rigid. Deceived. This is where the argument breaks down, though, because Privacy and Meghan Markle have had a very complex relationship, particularly recently because, in my opinion, there isn't much public support for either Meghan or Prince Harry. Once more, I believe that putting that out there was dishonest. This year on Valentine's Day, Meghan shares what the tabloids dubbed the clearest photo yet of Lyot's face. In the ideal sunset lighting, Harry is holding their daughter in a beautiful meadow while she holds red balloons. It appeared to be a photo session for a magazine. In reality, what are you doing here? Because the only things you're truly contributing to are perhaps your own PR, or obtaining some good content for your Instagram. And within hours, astute ex-followers noticed a problem. Inconsistent lighting across the shot, one balloon floating without a string. It was reported as altered and photoshopped by several accounts. The post remained up. Nothing to say, nothing to fix, nothing. Since I don't think there is a lot of public support for Prince Harry and Meghan, I didn't really believe those reports in the first place, and I believe they were an attempt to get some kind of support from the public, which I believe was somewhat pointless. Once more, I believe that putting that out there was dishonest. The Netflix appearances come next. Archie and Lilith are watching their mother film on a monitor while wearing matching headphones that are precisely positioned for the camera. The Disneyland birthday trip, the chicken coop film with Lily on Meghan's hip, the Easter egg videos, and the clip of Harry and Archie on the ski slopes. Harry's sorrow looms over the occasion. Indeed, despite the fact that these front pages were extremely positive news for His Majesty today, there were concerns that his cancer battle and poor health might prevent him from making the visit at all. The visit was then clouded by controversy due to the third attempt on Donald Trump's life. Despite all of that, there is an unsaid sense that Harry and Meghan present a serious problem. For Meghan's benefit, each and every one of those occasions was posted on her timeline and was consistently flawlessly lighted. Let's be truthful about what this is. When it helps the brand, the kids are visible to the public. When it doesn't, they vanish. That isn't privacy. That's management. They are adamant about making their kids as well known as William and Catherine's kids. They are adamant about making their kids the most well-known kids in the world. It's Meghan, to be fair. We are aware of Harry's strong opposition to it. I've been informed that it is a major source of conflict in their marriage. Additionally, using your kids as a music material differs greatly from shielding them from the media. There's a pattern here that once you see it, you can't unsee it, so let's go somewhere the mainstream media won't. Cast music, your thoughts back. The kids have always shown up whenever Meghan has had something to debut, sell, or rehabilitate. Not prior to, during, or after. Many wealthy individuals believe it to be a magic stick as well. And even if they don't believe it's magical, they are aware that it's a very powerful club that can be used to beat others because they know that people will bow down and worship at its altar because they believe it to be a magic stick. Since money is essentially a medium of exchange, they are using it for what it is worth. When the AS Ever lifestyle brand debuted earlier this year, there were kids in the kitchen, kids in the garden, Lily in a floral dress strolling barefoot across their Montecito estate's lawn, music, and Archie decorating eggs. A picture-perfect domestic scene that coincidentally coincided with Meghan's positioning as America's answer to the wholesome lifestyle guru. It's tone-deaf. It is truly tone-deaf. Additionally, I'm not sure who is giving them PR advice, but given how awful the optics are, I would definitely look for someone else. Finally, to force one's own private and personal agenda. Archie and Lilith were on set watching their mother on a monitor while wearing matching headphones when Netflix needed promotional material for the With Love Meghan season. They looked adorable and created the kind of warm human content that makes people feel connected to a celebrity they might otherwise find difficult to like. Meghan is poisonous. Nobody desires to be connected to Meghan. For now, let's leave it at that. They published the photos after taking both kids to Disneyland for Lilith's 4th birthday. Music is globally accessible content that breaks through even the most resilient Sussex fatigue, not because 4-year-olds love Disneyland, though of course they do, but rather because a mother is taking her daughter to Disneyland on her birthday. Princess Diana was attended by thousands of people. For Meghan and Harry, hardly anyone was present. Laughs. All they were doing was walking with their security. Parenting is not what this is. This is the scheduling process. This is the reason it is especially uncomfortable. Authenticity is the foundation of Meghan's entire public persona. The authentic Meghan, the real Meghan, the Meghan who merely wishes to share her life and live her truth. However, the kids only show up when the schedule calls for it. They are timed like press releases, deployed like assets, and then locked away until a humanity boost is needed for the subsequent launch cycle. Oh, well, I'm now going to start classes for children, and I'm here and going to be preaching the virtues of longevity starting with childhood. And now we are going to teach those children what to do, what to be, what to say. This is what your audience has been saying in the comments section for months, and they are entirely correct. It's like someone committing mass murder and spinning around. The infatuation with these kids was not brought on by the bogus AI photo. It was the result of Meghan's own plan. She made them both obvious enough to create interest in music, and unseen enough to create mystery at the same time. It's a powder keg. To set things off, all it took was one Italian Twitter account and one gullible music journalist. This week, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are attempting to make a royal comeback in America, but there is an elephant in the room. This is where the tale really gets music combustible because, according to Tom Sykes, one of the most powerful royal insiders working at the moment, Harry disagrees with Meghan's public usage of the kids. Not even a little bit. Harry has never had it, but Williams looks to have it. Harry enjoys attention, snorts. Harry is a braggart who will do anything to flaunt and demonstrate how amazing he is. Charles isn't a boastful person, though. According to people close to the couple, the children's public exposure is a significant and continuous source of conflict music within the marriage. Harry is adamantly against it. Meghan presses it. And individuals in their world are now music characterizing this couple as extremely unhappy, with aims that have subtly diverged in ways that may be impossible to reconcile. It appears that this conflict, quiet, persistent, and unresolved, is one of several causes. Anticipating or just believing that the nation has a duty to offer them a degree of safety and security that the taxpayer will be paying for. You know, it sticks in the craw, and I'm sure that the general people are thinking, and Australia is in an interesting spot right now because it's kind of divided as to whether it wants to be part of the Commonwealth. Whether it wants to become much more Republican and autonomous, it still wants the royal family to serve as a symbol. Reconciliation is impossible. I did not say those things. Dan Wakeford, a former editor of People magazine and one of America's most dependable Sussex media allies for many years, said as much. After speaking with members of Harry and Meghan's inner circle directly for 3 weeks, Music discovered that they were not a power couple overcoming adversity together. He discovered two individuals who, despite having completely different needs, are yet dependent on one another. I would advise them to voluntarily give up their titles. Declare that you are not a duke and duchess, that you are not a prince and princess, and that neither are your children. And I believe that would go a long way if they did, but the truth is that I'm sure Harry would give it some thought. Meghan would never consider it, in my opinion. She has nothing to sell without his position and his royal connection in music. He lacks direction without her motivation and management music. Harry frequently laments his lack of protection before traveling to Ukraine, as if he were willingly visiting conflict areas. When Ravik is making their choice, will they consider stuff like that? He says one thing and does another, but is also not an important part of the group that determines what will happen in Ukraine in the future. As if he's heading there on his own volition. I believe he would claim to be working toward world peace. We would respond to that by saying, or just another headline. However, I find it difficult to accept that he is afraid for his life. What's left after removing those transactional requirements? This is the agonizing irony that lies at the center of it all. In order to give his kids a normal existence free from scrutiny, and to ensure that they were never weaponized by the institution like he thought he was, Harry publicly and passionately departed the royal family. Service is, after all, universal. I mean, It's not what the Queen was about if she was suggesting that you couldn't live a productive life or serve others. It was really disrespectful, and I recall thinking at the time that it was extremely impolite to lecture someone who had dedicated their entire life to public service about what it meant. However, the phony image that went viral this week, tricked a national journalist, appeared on all platforms, and momentarily overshadowed a king's historic visit to the United States, was real. Because the way these kids' images are managed has led to precisely the kind of crazy public fixation that Harry has always claimed he was attempting to avoid. They were not shielded from the circus by him. He recently relocated the circus to California, and he seems to be aware of it. It's likely that Meghan and Harry's trip has done more harm than good to any form of long-term support for the royal family. This time, let's discuss what was truly hidden beneath that phony picture. Because something much more important was going on in the background as Greta's post was making the rounds. Something that clarifies how calculated and desperate this situation has been. During the New York portion of this state visit, Team Sussex discreetly attempted to set up a secret meeting between Harry and King Charles, according to sources. After the arrival last night, Core, a Sussex squad member and socialist commentator, posted, "I apologize, but I find it incomprehensible that a man would travel across the globe to meet Trump, who disrespects our military, without even visiting his son and grandchildren. Not too many cameras, too close to Trump, or too political in Washington." Carefully positioned, New York silently drifted through back channels, and royal aides were apparently amenable to the notion for a short while. The door banged shut as Australia arrived. A petition with more than 100 signatures from Australians stated that they did not want to pay for Sussex's security during their eco tour. It was said rather clearly by one palace insider. "That trip killed it," the quote goes. "The palace saw the optics and pulled back quickly, but this is the part that should really stop you cold. The reason the palace pulled back has nothing to do with rage, punishment, or family drama. It is coldly, ruthlessly strategic, and it all boils down to one photograph." According to direct sources, the fear inside Buckingham Palace, music, is devastatingly simple. "Tom, it's all happening." However, let's face it, even if King Charles and Queen Camilla truly wanted to meet Harry and Meghan, it would be diplomatically impossible for them to do so. As a result, this pressure feels incredibly unfair. Oh yeah, look, Narinder C is just talking complete nonsense. Harry no longer appears to be a private citizen who abandoned his responsibilities when he stands next to his father, shakes hands, shares a frame, plays music, or appears in an image on Getty. He appears official and royal, and every brand partnership, Netflix deal, and public appearance he makes afterward carries the unseen seal of royal legitimacy. It was left to Donald Trump to claim that Prince Harry does not speak for the United Kingdom. The answer to your questions, however, is that he is still that resentful and unhappy. This was the point, by the way, where Trump did put things into perspective quite beautifully and in a way that only he can. Prince Harry said today that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those remarks ahead of Monday's visit? Yes, sir. How's he doing? Laughing at how's his wife? Please send her my compliments. All right, no, I'm not sure. One thing I believe I know for sure is that Prince Harry is not speaking on behalf of the United Kingdom. I believe I am speaking on behalf of the United Kingdom more than Prince Harry. Additionally, it is evident that the entire Ukraine issue was a hot potato issue. One source stated this in a way that is almost unbelievable. The idea that Harry is just going to start freelancing and go off and see his, son who just on Friday was doing his best to destabilize the trip and make the trip a problem, was left to Donald Trump to point out the obvious, which is that Harry does not speak for the United Kingdom, which is what the palace is protecting against. Harry's concern isn't family, it's branding. One picture, one handshake, and suddenly he's back looking tied to the crown. The Sussex Survivors Club, who we may have thought were over, are actually furious because Meghan Markle is complaining about her awful 7 years, and I've been on the blower to you. This is a woman who posts about jam, documents her chickens, and shares footage of her kids decorating Easter eggs with the enthusiasm of someone who has never met a camera she did not like. And while all of this was happening behind closed doors, Meghan was completely silent on Instagram. However, when the King of England arrived in her nation for the most important royal visit in a generation, she said nothing at all, not a story, not a like, not a single word, while Charles was having lunch in New York with Anna Wintour and Martha Stewart. Let that land for a moment. I understand that the King, the Queen, William, and Catherine are all grateful for Donald Trump's empathy regarding Harry and Meghan. Anna Wintour, the most powerful gatekeeper in the entire fashion industry, music, a woman who has made no secret of her disappointment with where the Sussexes ended up. Your fiercest critics just had lunch with your father-in-law while you sat in Montecito and said nothing. Martha Stewart, who has publicly and repeatedly dismissed Meghan's lifestyle brand as lacking the authenticity and expertise that serious ventures require, and Charles did not stumble into that guest list. That was intentional, precise, and music absolutely devastating. Donald Trump dislikes this British government, and you can hardly blame him when they sent over 100 of their volunteers to actually stop him from winning the election. The palace's fear of a single photograph, the fake photo, the silent Instagram, the music-blocked New York meeting, and Charles sharing a meal with Meghan's harshest detractors all point to the same place. So let's put everything together. It's really dishonest, isn't it, to sort of say, oh, well, I'm still actually a member of the royal family after all. Well, you know, and the thing I often say, Dan, is that people like you and me who watch this show and follow the story of the royal family, like Donald Trump, understand that he doesn't speak for the royal family or the country, doesn't have a role, and is not a representative of the country, but 2% of the people who just get their news on their news feeds and aren't particularly interested in the royal family. They quite understandably think that this guy is a member of the royal family. Harry and Meghan are currently experiencing financial strain. Because he is no longer a working royal and is no longer a member of the inner circle, the media allies are defecting, the brand is struggling, and the one thing that could still give them oxygen, music, is being methodically, purposefully, and permanently withheld. If he does travel to a place like Ukraine, it would be similar to planting stories about the significance of his security in the newspapers or online mail. It doesn't really matter. The fake picture of Lyot didn't reveal Greta Van Sustren's credulity, but it did reveal something much more unsettling. 4 years into this California experiment, the world still doesn't really know what these kids look like. It revealed a carefully planned strategy that unintentionally created more mystery than it solved. It revealed a marriage in which two people are quietly, seriously, and possibly irreversibly at odds over how their own children should be presented to the world. Why was the timing of this interview so devastating for the British royal family? Well, Tom, there's a school of thought on the internet right now, and I don't personally agree with it, that says, oh, this is what Charles wants. This is what the royal family wants. They were in some ways aiding Prince Harry being in Ukraine. That's definitely not what I understand, but could you just explain why this was so bad for the royal family? Harry was in Australia when, 3 or 4 days before Charles was set to embark on the most significant diplomatic mission of his life, he appeared in Ukraine at a major peace and security summit. He begins to mouth off about Putin and Trump, saying that, you know, war is bad and should end and that America should sort it out. Most importantly, it revealed that, while a cancer-stricken music king was receiving standing ovations in the US Congress, making history for his country, his music son was minutes away, invisible, uninvited, and irrelevant. One AI image, one refusal to delete. I'm reassured that Harry realizes his own unbelievable irrelevance. And realizes that, you know, not a word that he says is going to be taken furiously by the king or Donald Trump. On the other hand, what's the point in saying it? You know, then what is the point in saying it? Why are you trying to make everyone's life? Are you really still so bitter and so angry about your terrible upbringing in a palace, and, the fact that you never had to pay an electricity bill in your whole life? One veteran journalist is embarrassed in front of the world, and at the center of it all are two children with red hair who just want to ride their bikes and feed the chickens while the adults around them keep arguing about what they are worth. Do you think any of this is going to have an impact on the big state visit next week? Any of what you've said here will have an impact on a big state? So, not at all. Look, and you could see him, Tom, like the body language of who his PR is, thinking this isn't going well. I'd like to know if you think Harry really wants music to protect his kids, or if this has always been about control. Please share your thoughts in the comments section right now, as that discussion is sure to be heated. Music, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the button. To be able to speak truth to power, we must feel empowered. It really is that easy. It's terrible enough to feel stifled and told you can't speak certain things in today's world. This station, which is just getting started, goes where the mainstream media won't. This is precisely where the tale takes place, so watch the video on screen right now.